Hello and welcome to the Unhindered podcast. I'm Amity and I'm taking over again today to interview Dad about the top five mistakes people make when overcoming insecurity. We thought this would be really helpful to articulate because it is a really hard thing to do. These are all mistakes that we've both made, and we just thought it'd be really helpful so that we can bring them into the light so you can flag them in your journey. So, Dad, can you start us off with the first mistake, please?
Well, speaking of mistakes, you've made about 57 of them recording this intro for the last 10 minutes. So it's nice that you got that one out mistake free. We're off to a good start.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, just slow down a bit too. You're talking real fast and yeah, look a bit nervous over there. So mistakes, yeah. So so 15,000 coaching hours. It's got to be at least 15,000 coaching hours around this specific subject of overcoming insecurity. It's a hard thing to tackle. Um, we both, as you said, we both made these mistakes and more in our own journey. I watch people make these mistakes all the time. You do too, I'm sure. So yeah, useful to unpack things that can be flagged upstream and people can avoid. So I don't know if these are in a particular order or not, but let's start. Let's start with one of the biggest ones. Uh, so the illusion of no choice. I reckon that comes up frequently. It stands as one of the major obstacles to eradicating insecurity. Um, that's a term you've heard me use before. You've thought about it. What do you think that looks like in people when they get stuck in the illusion of no choice?
It's really the victim card and feeling like they have no control in their circumstances and no ability to change their circumstances because everything is happening externally and they're kind of just at effect of all of their surroundings rather than taking accountability for their own life.
Yeah, and it is an illusion. It doesn't look like an illusion, but people feel like they did not create their own insecurity. It was created for them by someone else, and therefore the tragedy of their life is what's happened in their childhood. Um, Now, I always tell the story about misdirection using the latex thumb. Do you remember me doing that magic trick when you were kids? Like
Yeah,
it
with
make
like
the
yeah,
red
the red.
cloth.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And and I fooled Elliot longer than I fooled you. And every time friends would come over, both of you would make me do it. And then one time you were watching me do the trick rather than watching the trick. You were standing behind me when I was doing it for Elliot. And
Mm.
you're like, what's that thing on your thumb, Dad? And then the whole trick's up and I can never do it again. So
Mm.
it's such a useful, I tell that story all the time because most people assume they know where the action is taking place. It seems so obvious that the action is as I'm describing it. I'm just telling a wonderful story about this cloth appearing out of thin air, and it looks like that's exactly what's happening. And you're following the story and you're immersed in the story, and you cannot see any other possible reality. And so what you're experiencing is supernatural. But the other reality is the one that's unseen, and it's the real reality. And it's me carefully misdirecting you so I can put a rubber false thumb over my real thumb, hide a cloth up inside it, and you know distract you long enough to get the cloth in and out of that. So when people thinking about their childhood, the misdirection is it's not what happened to you that ruined your life. That looks obvious that it is what was said to you, what was done to you, but that's not it. The action is what you said when those things were happening, the meaning you put on it. So you're not the actor in the story, you're the storyteller. And that's not like I tell people about responsibility. Clearly, that's a key part in the process. But the big discovery is not um, take responsibility. It's realize you always have been responsible. You're already responsible. You created this. So it is an illusion of no choice. You are exactly where you've chosen to be. So that's a major stumbling block for people. But when you see it, there's no real defense for that. When you can see it clearly, like, oh, it doesn't even make sense to blame my parents or my friends or my teachers or or the bully or oh, I'm the bully now. So yeah, the victim cards. part of that too. What do you mean when you say the victim card?
Uh, the well, I mean, the lack of accountability and the lack of responsibility, and so I feel like I said what I meant about the victim card.
Yeah, but it's a metaphor when you say, because it's not a real, because like, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. It's a really important piece in the illusion of no choice. So when you think about what we use cards for, or why you might call it a victim card, what's that card? What do you do with the card?
You pull out the card to get out of jail for free.
Yeah, you play the card. You put it down and go, oh, you need to understand. I actually can't because of X, Y, Z. It's not my fault. I would like to. Yeah, I'd love to be happy and free, but you need to understand what's happened to me. If you understood how hard my story was, then you could understand why I'm a bit different, and you can't expect this of me. So, yeah, but it's a trick card in the deck. It looks like every single person's got a valid reason to play the victim card. Everyone has had misfortune and difficulty, injustice, every single person. And so everyone is technically entitled to use that as the reason. But the moment you play the card, you got to go sit on the bench. It's a trick.
Mm.
And there's no real defense to that. When you understand the logic, then yeah, being a victim, being below the line, giving away your power, having a worldview where the world acts on you, you are at effect of the world. There is no logic to sustain that way of living, even if you like it and you enjoy it. And it obviously works for you because people don't do things that don't work. So if being a victim didn't reward people, no one would do it. But as soon as you see where the real action took place and the fact that every time you play the victim card, you are instantly ejected from the game, then yeah, it's instantly solves that problem.
Mm.
Do you find yourself ever reaching for the card these days?
I mean, I feel like everyone's answer to that would be no. No one really does it that
Intentionally.
consciously.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Not that I can think of.
No, I don't see you use it. I haven't seen you play it. But yeah, I think you're right. It's a subtle one
Mm,
and very tempting at times to use it as a relief and an escape from responsibility. But yeah,
mm,
instantly gets you out of the game. So I reckon that's probably the biggest one, and it's such a worldview that is typical. People consider themselves acted upon. They consider the tragedy of their life, the difficulty that happened in their childhood. If only this hadn't happened. If only I'd had better parents. Different opportunities. Uh, so yeah, but the moment you got that world's mind view, that mind view, worldview mindset, you cannot
Yep.
eradicate insecurity. It is impossible. There is no way forward. So I think all these mistakes are terminal. They're not just little itty bitty mistakes. They stop the process dramatically. So yeah, let's lay that one
Mm,
down first. The illusion of no choice. It is just an illusion. You choose all the things that matter. You don't choose what happens, sure. You don't choose the world you're born into, the map you're given, the parents, the culture, the country, the finances, your body shape, your gender. Like there's a whole bunch of things you don't choose, but none of that matters in the grand scheme of where you end up. It's the meaning you
mm.
place on those things. Why is this happening? What does it mean about me? Your accusations, your agreements, your opinion of yourself. They're all the things that really control how your life turns out, and you choose all of them.
Yeah. Would you say that the victim card ties into trying to solve unsolvable problems? So the external problems, like other people judging you and failure, which you can't really ever eradicate.
It's a really good point, yeah, because when I ask people what they're afraid of, which is another big mistake and probably a good one to explore after this, they think they're afraid of what's out there. So afraid of what other people think. They've got examples of people rejecting them, treating them poorly, yeah, it looks like there are real things to be afraid of. That if people would just treat them better or give them more love, then they could move forward, but they can't because you got to understand how people treat me. It's really difficult to be me in the world I live in.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that happens frequently.
Mm. Yeah. Can you talk more about the people who think that their problem is outside of them and they haven't quite like I guess understood their problem with clarity?
Yeah, well, so the big mistake number two is, what problem are you looking to solve? Are you sure that's actually the problem? Because before you put energy into solving a problem, you got to know you're at the core issue. Otherwise, all you're dealing with is a symptom and you might experience short-term progress, but you're going to be back here, maybe even worse.
Mm.
So, uh, yeah, if you feel like the problem is outside of you, then you're going to look for the solution outside of you too. The pattern being, bad people have hurt me. I need good people to love me. Uh, you know,
Mm.
terrible things have happened. People have treated me poorly, so I'm needy for people to love and accept and support to compensate, make up for the things. So yeah, that the moment you think the problem's outside of you, you'll reach for a solution outside of you, and the solution is not outside of you. So yeah, so the mistake being you're not sure what the problem is. You think you're afraid of failure. You think you're afraid of rejection. You think you're afraid of what others think about you. You think you're afraid of uh, looking at the terrible things that have happened to you. Like I get people all the time. I got a few at the moment that are exploring their past for the first time in, you know, 30 or 40 years. And
Mm.
and there's years that are just deleted from their memory. And the story is comedy. I just don't really have a good memory of my childhood. I hear people say that all the time, but just like one person I'm talking with has got maybe 15 years just deleted, just gone. And And the only reason it would still be deleted after all these years is they're afraid of if they were to look at it, what they're going to find in there. And so
Mm.
as soon as they start looking in there, they find difficult memories start popping up. They find painful, hurtful, upsetting, sometimes even abusive experiences. And so what would be the value of looking closer at those things? If the problem is what has been done to you, why would you want to look more at what's been done to you? You want to get away from that. You want to move towards loving, happy, positive experiences if the solution is outside of you. So it's all a trap. You cannot solve insecurity with that worldview mindset. You must understand that the problem is not what others think about you. The problem is what you think about you. You are afraid, as we spelled out last episode, you're afraid of the worst opinion you've ever had of yourself being confirmed by the world. That's all it ever is. That's a you problem.
Mm.
And you control all the moving parts around that. So if you can see that and stay in that space, it keeps you in the solvable problem process and you can make progress. If you're not sure what you're afraid of and you don't name it as something that you created, you imagined, you agreed with, then how in the world are you supposed to eradicate it? You can only run and hide from it. You can only look outside yourself for a break, an escape from that fear because it's real and it's powerful and that's always how you felt about it.
Yeah. What would you say you observe in people when they kind of switch their mindset from the problem being unsolvable and outside of them to seeing their problem with more clarity? Like, do people kind of spiral and break down, or do they get kind of filled with this crazy power that they've just discovered? Like, what have you observed in people?
Well, they think they're not going to be able to handle that. That's why people don't look at it. But when they do look at it, it's a relief.
Mm.
It's it's a breakthrough. It's earth shattering. It's always big because they're like, my goodness, I could do something about that. I've always felt disempowered, powerless, affected, hurt, wounded. But you're telling me I'm at the center. So it's confronting to realize that you are the cause of your problem. But the moment you can get over that, then you naturally realize you're also the solution. So yeah, I think I've never experienced someone who's actually got that who then doesn't like knowing that. Everyone would go, that's very useful. I could do something with that information. I could improve the quality of my life with that information. If that's true,
Mm.
and I can't see a logic that would say it's anything other than true, then I'm on the path to improving my situation, changing my story. So that's what I observe. Hard to get there
Mm.
because
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to be that. Like people are so stuck in a worldview that says I didn't do this and therefore I can't fix it. Any psychologist, therapist, counselor I've talked to about insecurity just says it is not a solvable problem. You can't solve this stuff. You just have to get better at managing it. So that I think that's the prevailing attitude. So it's a big deal to even be willing to look at it. And when you finally face up to it, you realize, it's solvable. So that's always a relief.
Mm. Yeah. And sorry if this is like a little bit off topic, but do you think that there is a major impact that readiness has on people's kind of positive outcome from having that mindset change? So, if someone kind of heard that when they weren't ready, do you think that it would be still a positive experience, or are they likely to spiral out and kind of have a catastrophic moment?
Well, hearing that is one of the things that increases readiness. So,
Mm.
you've seen my bell curve that readiness peaks at somewhere around 40 or, in the midlife season, 35 to 45 on my graph is peak readiness. But it's not just because you're that age doesn't make you ready.
Mm.
That's if you're going to be ready, you're more likely to be ready at that age. And one of the things that increases readiness is the ability to see how this problem exists. So doesn't really matter how old you are, the moment you actually understand what the real problem is and that you created it, that increases readiness off the charts. So it doesn't create spiraling, that doesn't decrease readiness. It's not a separate thing to readiness. Readiness coexists with those two bits of information. That's a good question. No, we didn't prepare that one. I like that one.
Yeah. Even if people are really gripping onto the victim card, you'd say that
Yeah,
it
but
still increases their.
no, but they can't because we've just debunked that as mistake one. So I'm saying if
No, but
they,
I just mean like if I walked up to someone at the street
yeah,
who is a victim and I
yeah.
said to you, guess what? You are your problem. Do you think that they're still gonna like that's what I mean? Like they don't have the readiness where they're already participating in overcoming insecurity. They're just a victim. That was my question. But I
Right.
suppose you don't have a whole lot of experience with that necessarily because your clients come to you with a level of readiness already because they're actively reaching out for help. So,
Yeah, well, get help from someone who doesn't care about you. So I'm not preaching this. I'm not walking up to people in the street saying, "Hey, listen, you're a bloody idiot, and can you stop being a victim?" I talk to
mm,
people. I talk to people. Lots of people, like the people come into contact with. There are lots of people who are victims, and that's fine with me. I don't care. What's it to me if you want to be a victim? I'm busy moving ahead, and you're busy being stuck. If it's working for you, you haven't asked me for a different view. You're willing to. Certainly welcome to watch me, but uh, yeah. So I wouldn't imagine that walking up to someone and confronting them with a truth that you've just preached at them that they're a victim would ever do anything good for them.
yeah.
So I haven't really answered your question though.
I think so. I think that the simple answer is that if there's okay, well, the way I would summarize what you said is that if there's a little bit of readiness, then it increases the readiness, hearing
Yeah.
that you are your problem. If there's no readiness, full victim, it's not gonna help at all. It's not gonna change that.
Yes, exactly right. They don't want to know
Yeah.
it's working too well still to be a victim, so they're not
Yeah.
looking to let go of that card. But if someone's pain has increased, which is one of the things that increases readiness, and typically pain increases through age, young
Mm.
people don't have enough pain typically. Midlife, there's plenty of pain, but it's not too late. So pain is useful to go, this is not working for you, this victimhood. Yeah, then when that readiness is brewing, then you hear this idea that's like, hey, by the way, you're not actually a victim, you're the bully in the story. you're the one that created this, then yeah, it definitely increases readiness.
Yeah. And so what's another mistake to look out for?
Um, so the student trap is one that I see happen all the time, and this is a mistake that's you've got to be in the process, like you've got to be, intentionally committed to eradicating insecurity. So you can't make this mistake. This is not the first mistake. This is a mistake down the line, but it's a really common one and it's a really bad one and it's a terminal one and it immediately pulls you out of the process. So the student trap is just, a fixation with learning, with thinking,
Mm.
with more understanding being the way you're going to solve this problem. And do you know why that's a mistake?
Well, it's kind of a procrastination method. It's hiding from actually doing the work, and I guess preparing for doing the work, but then never actually doing the work to do the work.
Yeah, and it's a trap that the process actually helps you fall into because primarily overcoming insecurity is a thinking exercise and you must understand and you have to step into the light and think clearly. You have to think about your thinking. So you must learn. It's it's
Mm.
content heavy. There's some big ideas to lock in. So you're like, yeah, I am being a student. I'm learning ideas, but there comes a point where if you don't act on those ideas, then those ideas are a form of avoidance, obfuscation, procrastination, hiding in plain sight. It that's where it becomes fun when someone is really looks like they're ultra committed to the process, but the pattern is they just need the next bit of information. What's the next bit of information? And they geek out at learning or getting the right answers. You're like, hang on, you haven't done anything with the other things that you learnt. You've not applied this. So no one's going to call you out. Doesn't look like you're hiding, but you are very much hiding behind being a
Mm.
student. And the best students don't necessarily make the best practitioners. You could graduate at the top of your class at university and never do anything with what you've learnt.
Mm.
So, uh, if you want to solve insecurity, you're going to have to get your hands dirty. There will be some obvious action that is required, and it's the
Mm.
implications of what you learnt that will change you, not just what you've learnt.
Mm. I
Did
feel
you
like
ever? Oh, you go.
I feel like this one really ties in with the victim card too, from my own experience where I'd kind of pull the card of, oh no, guys, look, I am doing the work to solve my insecurity. I am actively getting better to kind of excuse my poor behavior. That was kind of a problem that was really working for me and quite a nice little victim card that I use. Would you say
Mm.
that it's related to the victim card?
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, and it's I'm just a student is don't expect me to be doing
Yeah.
it perfectly is another way to hide out. And
Yeah.
because when you look at overcoming insecurity, it's all very binary. It's all very in, out, yes, no, black, white. It's all, have you actually identified exactly what you said about yourself? That's yes, no. Have you actively reviewed all the data around whether you got that right? Yes, no. Have you changed your mind about it? Yes, no. Are you still agreeing? Yes, no. Have you seen what's true before that thing you said wasn't true? Like they're all very, they're not real student things that they're not works in progress. They're all
Yeah.
you apply yourself and then you exit. So
Yeah.
nowhere to hide. Yeah, so it does definitely connect with the victim card. And then the victim is, well, then if I just the reason why I'm not making progress is because I don't have enough information.
Mm.
Someone I hung up on a client once. It's it's
Once,
hap-
only one.
no, I've hung up on a few, but the most recent one, it's a good news story, and I'm sure they'd be uh, loving me telling this story because it was very funny and very high level of coaching because um, they were stuck in the student trap and they were saying, Jamin, this is so frustrating. I'm asking you an answer and I'm asking you a question. You're not giving me the answer. It's like I'm Daniel's son and you're Mr. Miyagi and I'm saying, can you show me the way? And you're just saying wax on, wax off. I'm bloody sick of it. Like you are You are blocking me. You are not helping me. You are not giving me anything useful. And so, like, that's not what's happening at all. I've given you the answer three times and you didn't like it, and you haven't done anything with the things I've already given you. That's exactly what's happening. So I am not the problem. I am not what's blocking you. I am not the reason why you're not moving forward. You are
Mm,
afraid. And so just that fight to go, no, no, I'm hanging on to the victim card. You're a terrible coach. You're the reason you're not giving me what I want. That's why I can't move forward. And so
mm,
we reached a stalemate, and I ended it by just going, okay, well, I know what's true. You can play this card if you'd like, but it's not true. It's not accurate. It's not helping, and I don't need you to agree with me. I know the way. You're asking me to show it to you, and this is it. You don't like it. Okay, great. I've got nothing more to say to you about on this subject. Now, um, yeah, it was a really lovely experience because it was such a high level of coaching. It wasn't me acting poorly or being frustrated or being sick of it. It was just me. This is the best coaching right now to say, let me feed back to you that you are not ready and you are afraid by
mm,
slapping you, by breaking your state, by hanging up on you, and then putting the ball back
mm.
on your court. And I didn't know what was going to happen. Didn't know whether they would come back. Didn't, they could tell stories about what a terrible coach I was, hang on to that story, reinforce the victim card, or get the message. So a month later, they called me. They had to make the next contact. They called me, understood the point, received the blow, and got back into being ready. And
Mm.
a few weeks later, had made it out the other side.
Wow.
Uh, there's one key bit of evidence that I hear in language. I'm always listening to language. That's how I assess patterns a person's running. There's a question that people ask predominantly, and it's a useful question at some parts in the process. But then if this question gets asked too frequently, it's pure evidence of the student trap. Any idea what this question or what this type of question would be that's evidence of student stuckness?
What now? What next?
Not bad. Yeah, another version of that is how.
How? Yeah.
It's the fixation on how, and how is the slowest way to solve any problem. Have you heard me describe how, what, why, when, who in terms of speed order?
I have not.
How's the slowest? Because when you ask, how will I do that? You go back in your mind to how you've done it in the past. And if you've never done it in the past, then you get stuck in this loop. How? I don't know how. How? I don't know how. And so it becomes impossible. You can eventually work it out if you stay in that loop, possibly, but there's no guarantee you won't just get overwhelmed and exit and give up altogether. So, how is the slowest? Any idea what the quickest would be?
Why?
Second quickest, only by a small
Really?
margin. Yeah. When the
Huh.
why becomes big enough that the how takes care of itself. And you must have a big why, no matter which order you go in if you're going to succeed. So why is very important.
Yeah.
Um, and when you are clear that you must have something, you don't really care how. How is not a problem. You're like, even if it
Mm,
is impossible. And I love saying that
mm,
to clients. Even if you are the first, even if I'm full of shit and no one's ever solved this, and there is no evidence that it can be solved, every day humans do something no one's ever done before.
mm,
So, and it's always off the back of necessity. So, if you are telling me you must find a way to eradicate insecurity, that's enough. Even if
mm.
even if you're the first person, I'm telling you you're not. There's no way near you being the first person, but don't worry about how. Stay focused on why you must, why you're not prepared to live
Mm.
another day in this betrayal, separation of self. So, yeah, why is incredibly important, but it's not the quickest.
What is?
We've only got three left. How, what,
What?
why, when, who.
Huh. Okay, I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess who. Please lock it in, Eddie.
Yeah, yeah, lock it in, Eddie. Yeah. Were you asking me about Lockerbie and Eddie on the last episode or not?
Yes, that's
Ah,
our
all right, good.
one reference.
If you didn't listen to the last episode, Amity is too young to have that social context. She doesn't know who Eddie Maguire is. I'm sorry, Eddie, if you're listening. I'll try and bring her up to speed. I assume, Eddie, you are listening. I'm sure you're a long
Yeah.
time listener. Drop us a line sometime. We'll have you on the show. Uh, so, yes, who is the quickest? And the way that it works is who has already solved this problem, go trust their process, go model them, go do it exactly like they did, go follow them.
Mm.
So,
Okay, but
so,
wait, but
mm,
why? But technically, I feel like that's part of the process if the why is big enough. Like if you when you say if the why is big enough, the how takes care of itself. I feel like that right there, you finding people who have embodied your goal is exactly the how taking care of itself.
yeah, you're right. You've got to have a big why. But then if you don't ask who, you could then
Yeah.
recreate the wheel. You could then go on your own discovery journey and take the next 15 years to do what I've already done. The
Mm.
solution already exists. You don't need to recreate it. You just need to go
Yeah.
trust the person who's already done it. That's the
Mm.
quickest way to solve the problem.
Hmm.
So,
But if you ask, okay, but hang on, sorry. If you ask the who without the why, then I don't feel like that's going to get you really anywhere.
no, it won't,
You're
because
back in.
then you'll be back in the, yeah, but you're not telling me how properly, and you're not giving me enough. You're missing some steps, and I can't
Are you
see.
saying that all of these, the who, what, when, where, why, Whoville has is all together, or are you saying that like, do you know what I mean? Like they have
No,
a rank, or are you saying
I
that
don't.
one of them, one alone?
No, not one alone. No,
Okay,
but
so they have a rank.
how is definitely the slowest on its own. I don't know about when and what. No one's ever asked me about those two, and I've been
Why were
explaining
they
this.
included?
Know about those two. Why is really important, but if you ask why and then
Yeah.
who speeds it up the most, go find the wisdom character, go find anyone. Like you want to learn to swim, you could work it out on your own. You could have a very important high high priority reason to learn to swim, and then just teach yourself how to swim because that's very important to you. You could do that.
I'd like to I'd like to debate that though, because I feel like you can reinvent the wheel if the why is big enough, but I don't feel like you can get the outcome you want if you're only going off of who. So I feel like the why can be on its own, but I don't feel like the who can be on its own. But I can see how the who is speedier with the why.
Yeah, good distinction. I stand corrected. We'll take that on board.
Okay.
You can add that in your book. You're writing a book?
Yeah, one day.
All right. The Who and Why by Amity Fraser.
Yeah, yeah. Because I beat my dad in a debate.
Yeah, it's good. No, that's a good
Um,
distinction. Yeah, why is essential and why plus how. Sorry, why plus who is the fastest.
yeah, yeah. Okay,
Who
cool.
without why can't work. Correct.
Cool. Yay me. Um, and is this we're up to our last
No, we've
one?
had three. So we talked about the illusion of no choice. We talked
Yeah.
about not knowing the problem, or another way of describing that is you don't know what you're afraid of. You think you do. So you're running and hiding. There's evidence of that. But running and hiding from what exactly? You think you
Mm.
know, but you don't know. You never know. Because if you did know, it doesn't make sense. What you're running and hiding from is the opinion of a scared child. So it's not actually a real thing. It's just become real because you've run and hid for so long. So, yeah, not knowing what the problem is mistake two. Mistake three is the student trap. So that's after you've gone, yeah, I know what the problem is. I'm ready to solve it. And then you get scared along the way and hide as a student and keep deferring the action down the road.
Mm.
Because eventually this gets solved. Practice 6B, the hero, you've got to go into the cave. The treasure you seek is in the cave that you fear. There's not a student who goes into the cave that they fear. That's not students are learning about the cave, learning about the monster. It's the hero that goes, all right. Um, because you and I were talking about this in one of our coaching conversations about the role of despair and death in the hero's journey. Have you formulated your thoughts enough around that to be able to articulate what I meant by that?
Yeah, well, what I got from our conversation was that despair is part of the game, not only part of the game, but a very essential part of the game. And you can't do it without despair. And it doesn't mean that you're losing, it doesn't mean that you're playing the wrong game. Uh, it's just part of the game.
Yes. So every hero will be faced with despair, and despair. How am I going to do this? Is a useless question. You can't solve despair as a student. You can only solve despair as a
Mm.
hero because the hero's going to embark on an adventure. It's going to be harder than they ever imagined, and they're walking headlong into fear. And then they're going to go do the thing that they can't do. Like at some point, they're going to realize this is freaking impossible, and I can't do this. And they're going to think that disqualifies them, and it looks like it does. But the obstacle is the way. So the thing that looks like it's the reason you can't move forward is the very reason you must. So I loved saying to people that the hero gets to a point where they realize they've come too far to go home. So giving up doesn't lessen their pain. They're either going to die or they're going to come out the other side reborn. But
Mm.
they're going into that cave. So yeah, despair is a central part. It does not disqualify you from the process. It's at the heart of it. I was talking to your mother about this the other day. She was saying about her vision board, and she was a bit. There was some pain around business growth and projections and how that clashed with what we're working towards as a couple. And she got to a point where some of the things on her vision board, she'd taken them down and go, too bloody hard. And and we were talking about that, and I said, yeah, great. And that's the point of despair. And the hero then knows it's impossible and I can't, but I can't also give up either. If I give up, I that doesn't make anything easier. So from a place of despair, the way of death is to put all those things back up on the board. You go, it's impossible, and yet I'm not going anywhere. I got nowhere else to be.
Mm.
I got no better plan. I got no better plan than this. Live the life that I desire. Go confidently in the direction of my dreams, or nothing.
Mm.
I'm not living a life half-hearted. I'm not living in betrayal of myself. I'm not staying with these unresolved insecurities. I'm not. And if I die, that's okay because I cannot stay here and I cannot go home. So yeah, as a student has got nothing for those moments. You can't solve that with thinking. That's despair, the depths of your being, the dark night of the soul. You find something inside you didn't think was there. And in the process, discover the hero internally and demonstrate to yourself that you're stronger than you think and that you find a way through. So it sounds a bit dramatic, but it is dramatic. And
Mm.
um, yeah, I was telling you about times where I've laid on the carpet. That's always a signal of my despair. Just like it's too hard. I can't do this.
Mm.
I'm not cut out for this. I can't. And then you realize that, and yet you will, even though you can't. You're not going anywhere. So then you dry your eyes, you surrender into it, and you find a way.
Mm. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people who are more in touch spiritually, which you'll talk about in the next problem, but and kind of live based on intuition, everything. I feel like they tend to get to a point where it gets difficult and take that as a sign that they're on the wrong path and they're doing the wrong thing and they're playing the wrong game. And then they find something that's easier. And I feel like it's very much normalized that like hard means that it's not right. And to find something that is more aligned, which would be easier. But I find that that is really quite common with more spiritually oriented people.
I think that's true. So let me name the next problem, which relates to that, and then we'll unpack what you just said.
Yeah.
So a big mistake I watch people make is when it gets hard, they escape into spirituality. And it seems like that's the right thing to do. And it's very nice sounding and socially rewarded a lot of the time. And it's very, because it's abstract and very personal, it's very hard to be called out on it.
Mm.
Um, but it doesn't solve the problem because again, it's looking outside yourself for the solution. You are the villain. You are the bully. You are the one that decided you were no good. You must face this with your eyes open. You
Mm.
cannot escape the consequences of that. You must go have a look and see if it's true. You must have a look. You can't substitute someone in. You can't escape that. You can't run away from that.
Mm.
So, yeah, always looking for some guidance, some grace, some provision, some help is escaping your responsibility.
Mm.
How do you see it play out for people?
Um, well, just on one path towards a certain goal, and then as soon as it gets hard, sort of questioning everything. And instead of questioning it and then going, I need this, this is something that I really want, I'm just going to do what it takes. It's kind of questioning it and going, I feel like this is a sign that this isn't right for me. And then trying to find another path. And I see a lot of people get just completely lost in the end after doing that repeatedly.
Mm.
Um, and I think especially in the horse world as well, there are a lot of spiritual people these days, in that kind of new age horse relationship kind of culture. And so, yeah, I just see it a lot.
I see it a lot too in the personal development space. There's a lot of spiritual gurus. There's a lot of spiritual spiritual stuff, and it's very hard to rebut, or critique, or challenge because
Mm.
it's so esoteric and personal, and people are describing their unique experience with God or gods or angels or other realms or quantum. You're like, okay, well, how can I? You're telling me you had an experience. How can I tell you you haven't had that? But uh, yeah, I'm just convinced it's our job to be human first, then include transcend human into spiritual. Because there's a wonderful life is spiritual. It's a big part of the game. Wonderful, fun, joy, life to be had in the spiritual space, but
Mm.
not as an escape, not as a bypass. And I think people again can play into the victim card. They're always looking for a reason why they're not making progress. So back in church world, it was always the devil's afflicting me and I'm waiting for God to rescue me. Or it's a version of that. I was saw on a YouTube video popped up just yesterday where some spiritual teacher was talking about epigenetics and the flow of energy being blocked because he said you are half your mother, half your father. So energy comes from them. So if your relationship with them is blocked, the energy flowing through you from your ancestors is blocked. So you must go unblock that relationship with your parents and mend any broken relationships. So you're like, oh, that sounds like spiritual advice. And blocked energy, that can't be good. From my ancestors, goodness, gee, I need them. Um,
Yeah.
you're like, hang on a minute, hang on. What? Like Freud said, live as though your father's dead. Like, the game is for you to work out who you are to become sovereign in your own life. So that is a breaking free from the nest, not an enmeshment into the nest. All dysfunction comes from being stuck in the nest. So you go and mend the relationship with your parents to make peace, to keep peace. Things are nice. There's a whole bunch of weirdness that happens. Like you'll find it with me. If your job is to be better than me, your job is to find your own path. It's to depose me as the main character. You become the main character. Like
Mm.
to always be subservient to me, to have a relationship with me as the priority so that energy can
Mm.
flow. You've got to stand on my shoulders and do things I could never do. You must think bigger, better, stronger, cleaner than I ever could because you're you're more evolved. The world is faster. There's different challenges. You got your own generational challenges to face that are different from the ones that I've had to face. So
Mm.
yeah, I think the spiritual escape sounds so lovely, but it's always a trap, and you can't resolve insecurity by outsourcing it to the heavens.
Mm. Well, I debunked your who is more important than why theory, so I'd say I'm well on my way to being better than you.
It sounds like it. Do you want to swap plate? You want to take over here? Um, hmm.
Yeah. Okay, was that number five? It's very
uh,
hard. Ah,
Hard to keep up. What do we want? The illusion of no choice. One.
yeah,
Uh, two. The student trap.
yeah,
Three. Not knowing the problem, not knowing what you're afraid of. Four.
yeah.
Escaping your humanity, looking for a magic solution to a human problem.
Mm,
That's the key there. If you're looking for something magic, you do not need magic to fix this. You
mm,
need to be a hero, an unsupernatural hero. It's the
mm.
ordinary, average, everyday human skills that will get you through here.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think that that also is worth mentioning, that you already have everything you need to change inside of you. It's not, you're not finding more things outside of you. Well, obviously you need to learn things and get help from someone who doesn't care, but at the end of the day, what gets you through that is you. And I think that that kind of ties in with the fight, trying to find magic to solve it for you.
there you go. Can you come and swap? That was better than. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. How did I forget that? You're right. That is the whole central focus. You have everything. Nothing's missing. You created the problem. You can solve it. You don't need to look outside you. You'll need someone to show you the way and not get in the way. But no one's coming to save you, and you have everything you need already. Yeah, brilliant.
Awesome.
Uh,
And so number five,
well,
might
number
be last.
five. So I reckon these five cover almost everything. There's a version of these five that always causes people to get stuck. So number five would be thinking you're special. So
Mm,
it's a variation on all the other problems, but it's just like, yeah, this won't work for me. This can't work for me. Somehow my problem is more difficult. Somehow the solution needs to be more specific to me.
mm,
Yeah, I my problems fit outside these parameters. I've tried all this, and yeah, it's just going to be harder for me. So
mm,
the special problems happens all the time, especially for people who have really worked hard at trying to solve it and have got disillusioned and discouraged. What are you supposed to think other than you're different from everybody else, that's why it hasn't worked.
mm.
If you've ever come across this one,
Yes, all the time.
it's that my funnest way of debunking this one is just to say it's you've just got the special not special thing around the wrong way. So
Mm,
most people are going, their problems are special and their gifts are not.
mm,
So, so we all need to be significant. And so if you can't get visuals on your uniqueness and your specialness inherently, then you have to be unique because of what's wrong with you. So then you find special problems and you cling to those special problems to prove your specialness. So you
mm,
can't give those up easily, but it's like, no, 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 your problems are not special. They're really boring. They're really ordinary. They're really predictable. They are not different from anyone else who's ever gone before you, who'll go in front of you. This is the path all people must walk, the patterns you go through. So, but yeah, you're very special, but you won't work out how special you really are until you solve this not special problem.
mm,
And that seems to be hard to debunk as well. That logic is like, if you buy into that, yeah, okay, then you can surrender into, yeah, I'm not special. I'll take my medicine. I'll trust a process. This does apply to me just like it has. Because people will go, yeah, yeah, but for me, I don't really remember my childhood. So that's going to be hard for me. Or someone will say, oh, yeah, great. I understand this, Jamin. But for me, I don't really know what I want. So this is going to be really hard for me.
mm,
Or for me, I had a very difficult childhood. So, this is going to be hard for me. Or a fun version. For me, like I had a wonderful childhood. So, yeah, nothing bad happened to me. So, They're all the different versions, but none of them hold up under scrutiny.
Mm.
It's not a special problem.
Yeah. Do you find that people have a hard time letting go of their special problems, which would come with kind of the victim card and whether you're ready or not to let go of that, but also the fact that it meets their need for significance, which you can't just stop meeting a need. You can't just stop a behavior that meets a need. You have to swap it. So, do you find that there comes quite a challenge with kind of changing your mindset around your special problems and finding new significance somewhere else?
Very hard. And this is why I get help from someone who doesn't care. I got to get
Mm,
leverage because I'm having horrible conversations with people, confronting them about the things they don't want to know and that they are really attached to. Like it's very offensive to tell someone their problems aren't special when they've really unconsciously believed that they are and are clinging to it. To take that from them and demand they give it up, it's totally inappropriate and unfair. So I got to get leverage. So I make the barrier hard, expensive. Um, I frame it to say this is a journey into pain and fear. This gets harder before it gets easier. But ultimately, I'm here to serve them to get what they want. So when it gets hard and I get faced with that, there's two questions that I ask that get them back in the change space. And that is question one. Hang
I
on.
guess
Oh, I was going to ask you, but then I thought I don't want to make this about you being a student. But yeah, what are the two questions?
uh, what do you want and what are you prepared to do about it?
Good student. Yeah, that's
Nice.
it. Because it's like, hang on. What do you want? Like, be
Mm,
free from insecurity. Are you sure? Because treating it like a special problem can't get you what you want. So I know it's worked for you and it's what you believe, but that worldview is in the way of this. Like I still coach a bunch of Christian people, and the, the more they talk to me, the more nervous they become. Rightly so. I get asked if I'm the devil. Uh, and I just say, look, I'm not insensitive. I'm not on a mission to deconstruct your worldview, to take your Christianity away from you, to make you have no faith. How could I possibly, in good conscience, take anything that's sacred from you?
mm,
But if you say to me, Jamin, this is what I want, and I say, are you sure? And like, yes, I must find myself, I must overcome insecurity, I must reach my destiny. And I go, are you really sure? Yeah, I'm really sure. Okay, well, great. Now, what happens if your worldview is the thing that's stopping you get what you said you wanted? Then we have to have a conversation about it. Not
mm,
because I need you to change your mind, but because you said, can I help you get what you want? So same with the hard conversations about holding on to special problems, holding on to
mm,
labels. People love labels. No. You need to understand. I have high functioning anxiety. Oh, do you? I have ADHD. Okay, okay. I know I am depressed. All right. Like, sure. I was abused. Okay, sure. Yep. What does that matter? Like, yeah, there's things in the way, but what do you want? What are you prepared to do about it? And the problem's not special.
mm,
Dangerous, but when I find people really start to enjoy those conversations just because of how cheeky they become, that you can get away with things that you just can't get away with anywhere else.
mm. Yeah, it's a very unique space.
It is.
Mm.
Uh, do you think we've missed anything? Any other mistakes you've made, you've seen people make?
No, I think that covers everything.
Well, I was an enjoyable conversation, and I'm sure people will find that valuable. So thanks for getting that out of me. And we should do this again sometime.
We shall.
All right, full
Yeah.
bow.
Thank you. Thank you for listening, humans.
Yeah.
Uh,
Eddie McGuire, thank you for tuning in again.
yes, thank you. Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.